From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In today's recording, we go over the breaking news of those $80,000 of checks the viewers got overnight. Did you get it? I'll go over the latest details into today's recording. Then six stimulus hitting up. With Germany, France, and the United States, we need it because of the fears of a recession. I'll go over the latest details in afternoons. A major deal on the oil situation. I'll have the latest of whether it's happening or whether more inflation is coming. What's happening with China news today in today's recording. And then the situation with the CR, the SS-300. Jay Powell with that Capitol Hill testimony today, looking at what the ECB said last week and what's going on with the commodity situation. Wheat and grain prices surging out of control. We got a lot of money in today's recording with those $80,000 of checks. Build Back Better Act, SS-300, and another CR attempt by the White House. Meantime, we'll have the latest details about whether Russia is going to default and what that means for your money. The oil and the wheat shortage as well. It's a brand new breaking details and all these incredible sums of money. As $80,000 of checks went out, did you get it? I'll have the latest details on that. Third stimulus says more viewers got $10,000 overnight. Did you get that? I'll go over that as well. Sixth stimulus, fourth stimulus, third stimulus, all being paid out at the same time. This is why you tune in to today, because for March 16th, 2022, a lot of breaking news as the FOMC meeting being held, the Capitol Hill hearing the comments from Zelensky, and then the big surprise from oil, wheat overnight, and even nickel. I'll have all those details and more as it impacts your wallet because it's Afternoons LA. The toast was here this morning, and now the money is here this afternoon. As the money is moneying and the coins are coining, it's a big afternoon, and Afternoons LA starts right now. And good afternoon, everybody. It's a big day with a lot of breaking news. We'll be looking at that FOMC meeting notes today from Capitol Hill that impacts your SS-300 and inflation. And then we'll be talking about six stimulus as it impacts your potential recession. Then we'll be looking at those $80,000 of checks. Stay with me to the very end because I have a commentary about that, how you get it. And then we'll look at the oil situation. Is there new hope? Is there a new deal? The wheat situation. Is the price of bread going to come down the market because of potential six stimulus? And then what happened with China overnight? What happened with nickel overnight? What happened with Zelensky and Putin? Default, ceasefire, a lot of major question marks, all answered in today's broadcast from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Boy, we have a huge broadcast today for March 16th, 2022. Starting first with the Build Back Better Act. All these incredible checks, my friends, will be featured in tonight's 1 hour special report. Evenings LA, the most watched show in prime time. You don't want to miss it. 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. When we look at the Build Back Better Act, it's going to the finish line. In a new letter from Congress to the White House and from the White House to Congress, they all say they want to do it this week. Brand new correspondences. There is 3 classes of checks and 3 add-ons that pay about $15,000. Each of these checks will be featured in detail in tonight's Evenings LA broadcast. You don't want to miss it. 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Hazard pay got in there. Earned income tax credit got in there. 1 more year for my essential workers. The CTC, $3,600 for the children. 1 more year. Elder care, brand new for my elders. Care for young children, brand new, got it in there. Pell Grant, $550 checks, got it in there. Nutrition, got it in there. And then they got $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle and brand new money to repair your home if you live in a low-income community. The first add-on of checks comes from Southern California here. Across the land, Southern California applauded the inclusion of this provision that will give you a little bit less than $25,000 for the purchase of your first home via Maxine Waters, our legislator here in Southern California. The second cluster of checks gets even bigger, with money to repair your home if it's to weatherize it, and then paid leave. How do you get these checks? Tune in tonight to Evenings LA, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. In that second add-on of checks, we have the $250 billion of free home health care from Bob Casey, a campaign promise from Joe Biden. Got it in there. Then we look at that third cluster of checks. Deliciousness. Seniors and free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, and then nutrition checks more. On the seniors, they're getting a lot of checks. On the house side, dental, vision, and hearing medical relief with the lowering eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, and then the Medicaid gap fixed collectively between House and Senate, which is par for the course when we're adding checks to this recon, because guess what? You know what I'm about to say. The other add-on of checks, the third add-on of checks, MSC. Detailed tonight in Evenings LA. Who gets it? Tune in tonight in prime time for America's most watched show in prime time on financial news. It's Evenings LALATE. And tonight's recording, we're going to go over those MSC checks in detail. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. Who else gets it? Tune in tonight. I'll go over you as well. Then the payout, about $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, which is par for the course, because guess what? This is one of several programs of checks that will be added to the recon that already pays you about $15,000 to $80,000 of checks in the fourth stimulus recon, the Build Back Better Act. A new letter from Congress to the legislators says to pass the Build Back Better Act. I'll go over that letter tonight. But the great news is that as we have a lot of fears, recession, inflation, we don't have fears of moolah. And that moolah was pounced upon by the Purple Hawks overnight. This map, $80,000 of stimulus checks. Did you get it? I'm going to feature how to get it for you in just a second. But first, go onto the membership link to this video and become a member to learn how to get these $80,000 of checks. Who gets them? You do. Single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. You do not double it or quadruple it, but that is per household. And if you're on benefits, you can get it as well. What is it? It's coming up after the commercial break. If you qualify for a third stimulus check, you can qualify for this as well. Now let's look back at that CR for stimulus. Last week passed, did not have a $2,000 stimulus check in there, but the White House was not pleased, and the White House says in a new series of correspondences, it will be coming back with another piece of legislation. Biden officials, with a reporter call this week on March 15th, yesterday, says it will make another move for more money. Why? Because there's a sixth surge, not sick, but sixth surge of COVID now in China. And the White House is worried we don't have enough money ready for COVID. So he wants a little bit more money for about $15 billion. The White House coming back with another CR that has the opportunity to put a $2,000 stimulus check in there. As soon as we see this piece of legislation, how big it is, I'll relay its details. We have not seen it at the time of this recording. Now that CR did pass and did have stimulus in there. County stimulus. This channel made history in 2020 when I came up with the idea of putting money in a CR, never seen before history, with a $600 stimulus check got in there, made history. And at the time when we put it in there in December 2020, legislators said it doesn't belong in there. Well, guess what they did last week? They came in and put money in there for you, but on a county basis, not on a city or state or federal basis. So no $2,000 stimulus check, but a county check. Learn about which counties got those checks by reaching out to your county news or at least your county correspondence. And there you go. That is CR. Now, the other breaking news is this guy. Inflation and your SS300. This week was a pivotal day. At the time of this broadcast, I got to tell you, the FOMC meeting has not occurred. The FOMC meeting will be happening later today, West Coast time. So I'll have the breaking news for you on Evenings LA. Let me tell you what's going on. Joe Biden wants to swap out your COLA for inflation. And you want to swap out that COLA for inflation when inflation is its highest. It's 8% for December, as I predicted all last year. It came in at 7.5%. It was 8% in January, as I predicted, 7.9%. But where is it right now? We don't have that number just yet. And that is why Jay Powell at this FOMC meeting, which is 2 days, and the final day is today, March 16th, will be doing a quarter basis point, or otherwise called 25 basis points, in his interest rate spike spike. That's what he told us last month. No surprises. But will he give us guidance for the month of April? That's what I'm looking for. And at the time of this broadcast, we have not yet had that FOMC meeting. I will have the latest details on it in prime time on Evenings LA tonight. Why is this important? Because if Jay Powell gives us indication of what he's doing for next month at today's meeting, then we will get guidance if we need to really push the president to swap COLA for inflation right now. I'll tell you why. Because if Jay Powell says, I'm going to do a half basis point next meeting, or I'm potentially going to do a half basis point, you got to freak out because you don't want Joe Biden to sit around. That would bring down inflation quicker than a half basis point. Let's go over the analysis. If Joe made the swap today, you get $200 a month. If Joe waits for the swap when we're dropping inflation to 6%, it may be $175, not $200 more per month. So you want Biden to make the phone call now. Now, if Joe Biden sits back and we go into late April, early May, Jay Powell will have then potentially 3 interest rate spikes that could wipe down inflation down to 5%, not $200 more per month, maybe $150. That's why you want Joe to make the phone call right now. What is the latest data at the time of this broadcast going into day 2 of the FOMC meeting later today? My stance is that the Fed is going to continue to be measured, meaning not aggressive, even more if we continue to see these high inflation numbers, because I'm more concerned about hard landing than elevated inflation, says a Fed watcher this today. My expectation is that there aren't going to be any big surprises. The actual move is widely telegraphed. The Fed will announce the meeting notes at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Wednesday, and I will feature it live. I will feature it on Evenings LA in prime time. The retail sales numbers came in this morning, and what are the retail sales numbers? Did they give us inflationary jitters? They did not. They were a little bit weak. So the retail sales numbers came in at 0.3% growth for the month of February, year to date. Wall Street expecting 0.4%. So again, this is the second number in 2 days, folks, where the inflation number missed, meaning the inflation was weaker. This is signaling that maybe inflation is stagnant or causing stagnation or lack of growth or causing lack of consumer spending. In this case, what's my analysis? Retail sales missed on estimates, meaning that people thought that the prices had gone up too much because of inflation. They didn't want to spend as much. The big fall was auto sales, which was 0.2% increase, and they were expecting a 9.9% increase. Meaning, if you went to go buy a car, you see the auto dealers really sticking it to you because they think that there's a shortage of cars that think they're going to raise the price. People sat back and said, I'm not going to play into that game. The biggest dent came from online shopping, which was down, not even up. 4%, meaning that people did not want to spend more because their wallet is not as fluid, not as robust, because inflation is taking a bigger chunk out of their paycheck. That's what stagflation is. You're not making more, your salary hasn't gone up more, but inflation has gone up more. Demand for extraordinary goods was running a little bit flat as well. I'll have more about this data tonight. This comes after yesterday's number, which was the PPI number featured last night in Evenings LA, which missed as well. That came at 0.8% less than the estimate of 0.9%. What's happening? Jay Powell's going to look at these numbers tomorrow and say, you know what? We have a lot of misses, and I don't want to have a hard landing. What is a hard landing? New expression you're going to hear starting today on this channel. Hard landing is you suddenly, abruptly, boop, flatten out, and suddenly you take a really, your butt hurts. You have a hard landing on the chair. You suddenly had a very smooth series of months, and bam, you take a hard landing. So he doesn't want to have a hard landing. He'd rather have a little bit more inflation than have a soft landing. He eases you into a progressive interest rate spike. What is my prediction before the FOMC meeting later today? I think that Jay Powell will telegraph quarter basis point for April or won't telegraph anything. That's my prediction. Let's see if I'm right tonight on Evenings LA. Tune in at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and let's see if I get it right. If I'm right, that means that we still have more wiggle room with Joe. Joe can swap out code for inflation, raise your benefits up for SS 300 now, March, April, fine. May, still a little problematic. That's why you want to make the pivot right now. In the case of third stimulus, the great news is that viewers continue to get that big money for third stimulus. And wow, it is incredible. Let's go over the optics of what's happening. It may seem a little confusing to some viewers. Let me explain. Currently paying out is third stimulus and 4 stimulus. And within about 30 days, we could potentially see 6 stimulus happen at the same time. I use a numbering system on this channel because it separates out the packages. Don't think that one has to pay out first before the other. Don't think the first one has to end before you get to the next one. I can use letters. I can use colors. That's the numbering system. 6 stimulus is coming up after this record, after the commercial break. It's going to be happening starting in April. I'll tell you why in just a second. But third stimulus, rent and homeowners assistance, covering everyone because you're either a renter or a homeowner, and that $80,000 of checks live for homeowners, all current, which is 4 stimulus, all currently paying out. How do you get the money? It's coming up after the commercial break. But first, let's look at this incredible map. If you haven't become a member, become a member today. I want to thank all the nice numbers who sent me beautiful messages last night at about 7:30, 7:40, 7:20. I gotta bless you. You were so kind. A lot of people were a little bit anxious. They wanted to see that newsletter, and they're like, "Is it there? Is it there?" I got it. Thank you, LA. I was so happy for them. I really, really was. So I really appreciate the kindness of the nice comments, and I really appreciate the people who are like, I'm waiting for 5 minutes. It was like the Anita Baker tickets were going on sale for the Venetian. Did you get them? You may not have gotten them, but you got the newsletter. Yeah, easier to get the newsletter than the Anita Baker tickets in the Venetian. In the second half, we're going to go over that big money for that $80,000 of checks. Then we'll be looking at the inflationary concerns and the recessionary concerns that are teeing up 6 stimulus. Then, yes, is Vladimir Putin about to default? And will that default seize up a ceasefire to the war? Is that the reason why there's a war ceasefire? I'll give you my commentary of the situation. Then I'll be giving you my commentary about those $80,000 checks. The latest details on oil. Is there a potential deal on oil overnight? And why is it too little too late? Well, the latest details on that. As we go into a big broadcast of the second half, we have a lot of money and we have a lot of breaking news. And I'll have a preview of what's happening tonight in prime time on Evenings LA. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. See you back in 60 seconds as Afternoons LA continues.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues as a big Afternoons LA goes into the second half. The concerns of recession are growing by the minute, and now it is trending internationally. The number one story when you open anywhere place across the board for financial questions is recession. Also inflation. So why is that important for 6 stimulus? I'll go over those 6 stimulus checks in the second half of this video. But first, we're going to start with those incredible $80,000 of stimulus checks. It's the 4 stimulus add-on, the 4 stimulus ancillary. It's law. And I'm going to go over all those incredible checks and how you get it starting right now. First, I want to congratulate the membership of this channel who have already gotten their applications in. Countless viewers, both members and non-members, have sent the thank you messages saying, I got my application in. They said it's complete, and I'm just getting ready to get funded. I'm so excited for you. Nothing gives me greater pleasure to know that I informed you, and you learned, and you got it done. Let's go over these $80,000 of checks. First, what are they? They're a 4 stimulus add-on, 4 stimulus ancillary. It's law. It's paying out, number 1. Number 2, it's different than Build Back Better Act, which is not a law. It's still sitting in the Senate. Will become law shortly. Number 3, who can get these $80,000 of checks? If you got third stimulus, you can qualify. Single individual, $75 25,000 less, yes, you get it. Married couple, 150,000 less, you get it. Now, you don't double or quadruple it like for stimulus checks or third stimulus checks. It's 15 to $80,000 per household. Yes, it's absolutely incredible. $15 to $80,000 a household. It's paid by your states, but administered by the federal government. It's offered nationwide in every single state. All you have to do is be a homeowner. Pause. If you're a renter, I got money for you coming up in a second on this channel, in this video. Now let's go over this homeowners grant as I tell it to viewers on the videos, but the full long name is in the membership newsletter. How do you get this money? You become a member. How do you become a member? The link's at the top of the chat or under the description of this video. Become a member and get the incredible membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is West Coast time, which is 8 o'clock East Coast Standard Time, or 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. The membership newsletter is delivered via the YouTube alert system, and in there it has the name of the full grant program. It's a grant, meaning it's not a loan. You don't have to pay it back, number one. Number two, you do not have to do a credit check. Number three, it's for you, $15,000 to $80,000. If you own a home, and you're within the income qualification, you can get this money. SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits. All of you can get this money so long as you own a home and you're within the income qualifications. Now, what is this money for? It's for homeowners, and it's for all the incredible things you've always wanted for. Property taxes, association fees, rental, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more. Let's make a few things clear. Number one, it is online. So you may have heard of other programs. This is different. I've seen some people see about other things and they get confused, or they make a phone call. Someone said, I made a phone call and asked, why are you making the phone call? You apply. You don't ask around. You don't ask your neighbor. You don't ask the guy who's selling the lobster shirts at the corner. You apply, and you want to get the application on file. Don't think it's something else. Don't think that you have to be behind on your bills. 90% plus of the states, or all the states, do not require you to be behind on the bills. Number one. Number two, 90+% of the states pay for multiple things. They don't just pay for mortgage assistance. If you found something that says just for mortgage assistance, you're likely not at the right place. That's why you want to become a member. You want to go to the right place. All right, so how do you get that application on file? You want to go into the membership newsletter. At the top of the membership newsletter, after today's oil, wheat, and grain prices, right under there is the first subject, which is this, the homeowners grant. It describes it, gives you the link, and then gives you the eligibility, what you need to know to apply. The link sends you into the whole portal for the federal government, which then routes you to your state. Now, I'm going to show you a map, and that map is not updated by the minute, by the hour, by me, and not updated by the federal government by the minute, the hour. So do not rely upon the map as though it's live, as though it's updated by the second. It could be a week delayed. It could be a month. It could be a day delayed. And so when you see this coloring system, your state may be a different color at the time of this broadcast. It may be a different color after I recorded, but by the time you see the broadcast. Let's go over the coloring system. First, remember, every state has this program, number one. Every state will offer the program. So if the state is not live with it yet, let's go over the details of that right now. What I want you to know is the way that states do monies is they first go live with a pre-application mode, and then they go live with the payment mode. Let's go over what happens. Day one of this channel was April 25th, 2020. Are you ready for our 2-year anniversary? I am. So on the deserted, empty, lockdown beaches of Hermosa Beach, I pressed record. I said, a new program on April 25th, I announced, was going live on April 28th, 3 days later. It's called PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. I told the two viewers, two viewers at the time, I want you to apply today on the 25th. Do not wait till the 28th, because they're accepting applications today on the 25th. Don't wait till the 28th. They listened, and guess what happened? On the 28th, they woke up, the application portal was in full mode, both receiving and paying out, and guess what? They also had a direct deposit that morning. They had a direct deposit. Now, the people who did not listen, who became viewers later on, who then applied on the 28th, guess when they got paid? A month later. It wasn't that easy. You want to get first in line. You're literally first in line. You want to get first in line before everyone else. Every hour, every day you delay, there could be hundreds or thousands of people that jump in front of you. So what's important to understand is some states are in pre-submittal. They're accepting your application. And other states are accepting other paying. And some states don't have anything live, but they could go live in 10 seconds. So you want to check back to their website every single few hours, and then suddenly it could be live. They're not going to give you a they're not going to give you a blimp in the sky and say, hi, we went live. So you have to refresh that website to see when it goes live. Let's look at that incredible map right now. All right, so when you look at the map, wow, it's just exciting. It's so exciting. One viewer sent a beautiful message saying she got her application and file in Texas. Another viewer got his application and file in Florida. Those are teal states where the application is being received and the application is being paid on. In the case of the pink states, I had one viewer who is in the pink state, said that she got her application on file and she got a confirmation that it's complete. In fact, I think I've had 3 viewers where they say they got the confirmation it's complete. I love that. It means you've done it right. I'm going to feature their success stories tonight on Evenings LA. And then for the other colors, just don't worry. Watch and get ready to pounce. Get that application on file. So again, how do you apply? 1, become a member. Congratulations to the countless new members who have joined this channel in the last few days. Absolutely incredible. The membership links at the top of the chat and under the pinned comment. Open that membership newsletter tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is East Coast people. That's 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Midwest people, that's 7 o'clock. That's 9 o'clock. I said that wrong. 7 o'clock West Coast, 10 o'clock East Coast, 9 o'clock Central. I had people in Central Standard Time last night tell me they're 1 hour ahead. No, you're 2 hours ahead. Central Standard Time is 9. We're 7. So there we go. Don't confuse me. I have enough to keep track of with Putin and China. Coming up later in this video on 6 Stimulus. And that's where we're going right now. Are you ready? I'm ready. So become a member right now and get that incredible membership newsletter and get the sums of money. Let's go to the breaking details of 6 Stimulus. It's huge. 6 Stimulus is happening, folks. It's happening in April based upon Emmanuel Macron, the president of France's re-election bid. He's a progressive, and if he's re-elected, then the trifecta of progressiveness is re-elected. Biden, White House, France, Macron, and then Chancellor of Germany. What do they want to do? They want to do a 6 stimulus package. And the reason they want to do it is because the situation is, despite whatever happens with Vladimir Putin and Ukraine in the next day, in the next 2 weeks, we all believe we're heading into recession because the disruption of oil, the disruption of wheat, and the disruption of commodities and the banking and the China situation is expected to be long, hard felt, even if there's a ceasefire in 24 hours. Let me go back on camera to make that very clear because I know what was said today by Zelensky and the Russian officials. They're suggesting that maybe a deal could be in the works to end the war. I'll be going over that in a second. I want you to understand that these leaders, White House, France, and Germany, all believe that 6 stimulus will still happening. So why is a 6 stimulus happening? Because they're getting off of Russian products. And guess what? If their war ends tomorrow, the sanctions are still there with Russia, meaning we will still not buy those Russian products. That's why I have to have a backup. And the backup is 6 stimulus. What is it? 6 stimulus is basically in the notion of we get off of Russian products, but as an economy, we need to provide stimulus to our citizens because they still will not be able to afford the price of gasoline, the price of bread, the price of wheat. The banking industry may still go under, and China may still take sides of Russia. So that is why there is 6 stimulus. First stimulus was COVID. Second stimulus was to be for COVID, but did not become law. Third stimulus, Biden stimulus, was coming out of COVID. Build Back Better Act, fourth stimulus for coming out of COVID. Fifth is for seniors. Yes, it's still in the works, that SSI and SSDI reform. And then sixth stimulus is for recession. Putin stimulus. Let me give you the breaking details on all that right now. I have a lot of breaking news. First, on the front for 6 stimulus, issue number 1, China. The price of China's stocks surged for their highest gain in recorded history in nearly 40 years overnight. Stocks like Pinduo went up 45% overnight. Alibaba, 24%. Overall, the entire Chinese stock market went up 40% overnight. Why such a massive rally? Because there's a belief that China will suddenly give new support to their economy. Earlier this week, and this is a little bit of jitteriness, China was potentially going on meltdown because China was potentially taking alliances with Russia. Moscow had reportedly reached out to Beijing for military and economic assistance for the war against Ukraine. Well, Russia's finance minister Anton Solonov said today that the partnership with China will still allow us to maintain cooperation that we've achieved. So Moscow did not deny it. China, however, then denied it, saying that it had never done anything like that. The White House says we're having a direct conversation with China and the Chinese leadership, not through the media, says the press secretary Jen Psaki. In fact, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, no, the 14th, China officials met the White House officials for 7 hours in Rome, at which the White House gave them a tongue lashing, said do not give anything to Russia. After the meeting, the White House would not brief us on what was said. It's very serious. It's very serious. So what would happen? A potential shutdown or sanction against those Chinese elements across the board. Now, that is what's happening with China for the six stimulus. What's happening with oil, I'm going to go over in 1 second. The banking industry got a fascinating twist yesterday, as one of the major brokerage houses said, our exposure to Russia is not significant for the first 2 months of this year. Hello, we're in the third month. What does that mean? That means nothing. There's a big concern that the exposure to Russian bonds and debt and equity is very much at issue. And that very big exposure could be problematic, and I'll give you the dates right now. April 4th. Why? Because on April 4th, Russia is going to potentially default on $2 billion of principal. March 16th, Russia will potentially default on $73 million, not billion, but million of interest and 44 million of interest. I'm not really worried about that type of default. I'm worried about the April 4th, which is 45 million of interest and $2 billion of principal. I'll feature that more tonight on Evenings LA, but let me tell you what's at issue. If they default, the U.S. banks would dramatically be hit because their bond and debt and equity investments in Russia would suddenly become a massive loss to our U.S. banks, would be monetized or at least line itemed in their Q2 or Q3 earnings reports this year. And boy, our economy could go into major meltdown. Also at issue is we're learning now that our exposure to Russia for oil is not as bad as it is for wheat and grain. Why? Because wheat and grain now apparently accounts for 80%. Are you ready for this? 80% of the wheat consumed by our partner countries, like France and like some of the Western allies, and some of our sort of partner allies like Egypt. Even if we don't consume 80% of Ukrainian Russian wheat, then guess what? Our partner countries could go into recession if that's blocked by Vladimir Putin. And the issue is a little bit more problematic. The wheat is not being able to be harvested because the farmers are not tending the crops, they're fighting the war. And the crop is not being prepared for next season either because they're fighting the war. So the crops could be lost for years to come, and that could send us into recession. That's why six stimulus is heating up because of wheat. What's the situation on oil? Oil is still going to happen, and it's still not solved, and it's still teeing up six stimulus. But there is progress. The Financial Times today reported there's significant progress on a peace plan between Russia and also Ukraine. The report says the potential of a deal is looking a little bit more improved. That is why oil traded lower on Wednesday following the FT report, but then went a little bit sideways. What's at issue? The day before, we had a report by the Russian minister to the UN, Lazarov, who said that the Iranian negotiations for a nuclear deal between the United States is back on after those talks were reportedly ended last weekend. Remember, if we have a nuclear deal with Iran, then its oil goes into the pipeline for our partner allies. They need to get off of oil. Meantime, domestically, the White House has not increased production domestically, has not reached out to those domestic producers to increase production, either in West Texas, where the oil is not refinery ready, or in the Gulf of Texas near the water. The failure to ramp up production domestically does not alleviate our price of gasoline at the pump, which is still hovering high. The price is not sustainable. If the price continues to sustain at these current levels, then we are going into recession in next year. We're going to learn the data by May. The current levels are unsustainable. Meantime, let's look back at that Russian default. That Russian default is why a lot of people really believe six stimulus is going to happen. Because if there's a Russian default, even though we and you and I don't have anything invested in Russia, banks, big banks that are in the United States do. The latest detail is the possibility of the possibility or impossibility of fulfilling obligations for foreign tendency does not depend on us. We have the money, we have the payment. Now the ball's first on the American authorities, says Russia Finance Minister Anton Solonov. He said that Russia has the funds. Let me explain to you what this means, because if you hear it in the news, you may get confused. Russia does have the money to not default. But the way the sanctions have been brilliantly written, Russia cannot take the money out to pay the debt obligations. If you can't get access to your money, it's sort of like a safe deposit box. Let's say there's something in the safe deposit box, you can't get to it, then you can't get that item. So Russia does have the money to pay for this debt obligations, but it can't access the money because of the U.S. sanctions. So the Russians will try to confuse you on the situation. It's going to default. It will default today on the first round, but the bigger round is at April 4th. So let's now turn to the situation with what's happening with Zelensky. President Zelensky addressed members of Congress during a joint meeting, during a televised Zoom chat earlier this morning at about 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And in there, he's had a series of comments. I'll have more about those comments later today. But he got standing ovations from lawmakers when he was asked to implement a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Interesting, because most Americans do not support it, nor does the White House, nor do I. And then also, Zelensky evoked Pearl Harbor, evoked 911, and he says, I call upon you more to do more. He also referred to the president by name. Although we've not been through it for a second, we found ourselves in the worst war since World War II. So that was what happened earlier today. And let me tell you what the latest statements are. That Russia is confirming, and that Zelensky is confirming, that there is an offer from Russia for Ukraine to be another Sweden. What is a Sweden? Sweden is not a Switzerland, it's a Sweden. Sweden remains neutral with a lot of these world conflicts. It has its own military to defend itself, but it does not get involved with other events. Let's say France was invaded, yes, tomorrow by China. Sweden would not get involved. But if you invaded Sweden, Sweden would defend itself. So this is an offer from Russia, which is totally new. This is not like Russia, I want to own you, Ukraine. This is not like Russia to Ukraine 2 days ago, which is take down your arms, become a demilitarized state. So then in the future I can invade you and you have no arms. So that option has now been removed. Now it's the Sweden option. Ukraine has not said whether to accept that option. Again, the reason why Ukraine regionally did not accept the option was it wanted to become part of NATO. So I'll have more about that on the Street and Stimulus broadcast coming up later today. Now let's go over what you need to know going into the big evening's broadcast. The rent money is still being paid out from third stimulus, and I'm just so excited for you viewers at the cost of the channel. Viewers continue to get those sums of money, and I want you to get it as well. So let's go over where you get those monies. Let's open that incredible details. Remember, this is money for rent and utilities. It's also for homeowners assistance. Yes, homeowners get two items. They get the $80,000 of checks, and then they also get the rent. Where do you get that? Let's go over the details. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, and your county house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. I want to congratulate Johnny Horvath, who got $26,000 from watching this channel yesterday. This is for rent that pays his rent to October 2022. It's insane. It's absolutely incredible. And I'm going to have more about tonight in Evenings LALATE in prime time. This is all featured in the membership. That is why people are becoming members of this channel in record numbers, because they're getting big monies from third stimulus, renters and homeowners, and they're also getting the $80,000 of checks. You're not going to see this in broadcast media. They don't cover it. They're not going to see this in print media. They don't cover it. I cover it, and viewers are getting big sums of money. That's the value of a membership to this channel. Then rely upon the membership newsletter, because guess what? It features the nonprofits. I don't even have time to go over the nonprofits. A lot of people are always asking me about home repairs. The nonprofits. A lot of people saying, what else can I get for like a small refrigerator or a small air conditioner. The nonprofits, yes, they help for those type of items as well. I know some of you are in snow, so they also help for small heaters. I have a lot of people in a lot of different climates, so my apologies if I talked about an air conditioner and there's snow outside for you. The average viewer gets $45,000. How rude is he? He's talking about an air conditioner. That's for the West Coast. How dare him? The average viewer gets $45,000. Get that membership newsletter today and move quickly. Get these big sums of money. Boy, what a great day it is. Later tonight on Evenings LA, we're going to have a lot to go over, folks. We have a lot coming up on Evenings LA. Number one, we're going to see that FOMC meeting notes from Jay Powell. Weezy going to give us guidance for April. I'm going to give you the latest on Jay Powell. This is your SS300. All the latest details on whether Joe Biden debuts that CR add-on. Number two, all the latest details on viewers' new success stories without $80,000 of checks. Number four, we'll go over more about the oil situation and why it's teeing up this pivot on 6 stimulus. Are there potential deals with Iran, Iraq, Venezuela, and OPEC Plus or not? I'll have the latest update on that. Plus, we'll be looking at all these incredible other situations unfolding that impact you at home. China, Russia, Ukraine, all impacting your 6 stimulus, all impacting recession, all impacting the price of bread at the supermarket. All of everything you need to know. It's a big Evenings LA broadcast. Tune in. 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be a huge broadcast tonight. With that, I look forward to seeing you tonight in prime time. Stay informed, stay focused. God bless the people of Ukraine and stay informed. See you tonight on Evenings LA.